Guten Morgen! I am Daniel, this is DTV, welcome to another episode. Today we are doing another PCS video with a new family that just arrived to Grafenweer. So before we get into today's episode, this new family just moved to Weiden, which is actually where I live. And so I decided that I'm gonna go to some of my favorite bakeries and local restaurants to get them some goodies before we get started. All right, don't forget your mask. Guten Morgen! So I got them some coffee and some pastries. Got them a little Weiden bag. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Life's good, I got treats. We are still on the topic of PCS, hashtag PCS pandemic. We're gonna be talking to them about their entire PCS during COVID experience. I've been seeing a lot of questions about PCSing during COVID right now.
How much luggage? What size do you bring? Quarantine? What's the water used to find?
It's a very hot topic. So I decided the best people to talk to about PCS during this time is the people that are actually PCSing during this time. All right, and you guys try to get as close to each other as possible, please.
Oh God, really?
You have to.
Okay, welcome family.
Hey.
Thank you.
I'm Adam Zangenberg. We're from Washington State.
And I'm Sarah, also from Washington. We were living in Olympia and originally from California. I was an LPN for the last 18 years. And so this is really my first time in 18 years with no job. So I'm going to be going to school full-time at WSU for social sciences and just learning about Germany and hopefully learning some of the language and trying to help him navigate because he's working full-time, so he doesn't get that opportunity.
So I'm a DoD civilian, so I'm working for the ASAP program. And in the Guard, so I'm in the Washington Army National Guard. So I've got 1 year left before I retire. Actually, Sarah found the position, and she said, "Hey, this is basically your same job that you're doing right now in Washington. You should apply." So I applied. Didn't think that we would get it. Got the interviewed, and then you always start second guessing yourself. But no, yeah, got hired. 9 months ago, a year ago. How long was that process? It was a long time.
Started in September, so almost a year now.
Yeah.
You guys came over here with a ton of baggage, children,
Yes.
pets. So
Yep.
tell me everything you came over here with.
Yeah.
14 bags, which make sure you check with the airport to see what the charges are. So I think we paid $1,100 out of pocket for the baggage.
So yeah, that was the expensive baggage. Then we have the important baggage, which are the 2 kids, and 3 animals, 2 dogs and a cat. And so we thought our expenses were gonna be in pet fees because we kept hearing about, oh, it's $300 for the first flight and it's another $300 for the second flight just to get the animals over here. But that wasn't the case. Our money actually ended up going to our baggage, which we were told in the first place that it would be free because with Lufthansa, who was one of our flights, said that 5 bags per person could be checked. Well, when we got to SeaTac, which is where we flew out of, we were flying with Alaska. Alaska said no, that it was actually going to be $1,700 for the bags. And we argued with the lady at the check-in, and so she went back and talked to her boss. We almost missed our flight because that took about 40 minutes. Make sure that your bags are 50 pounds because if they're not, you're going to be standing in line, going through your luggage, trying to switch out clothes from one bag to the next.
To be clear, one more time, you went from
Seattle to LAX
with what airline?
with Alaska.
We went, from SeaTac to LAX was Alaska. And once we got to LAX, we went from LAX to Frankfurt with Lufthansa.
Yeah, operated by United.
And so let's talk about actually your transition from SeaTac to over here with the luggage. So they allow how many bags do they actually allow you guys?
We still don't know today because they said one thing and Lufthansa said another. So when we got to LAX, which was our second flight,
Which is when we boarded with Lufthansa.
at the boarding check-in, they said, "Why did they charge you so much?" And we said, "We don't know." And so they said, "Well, we're going to waive your pet fee because they charged you so much for the baggage that shouldn't have been charged."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good. That was a blessing.
Really nice.
So that was nice.
luggage.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Don't bring anything.
Well, and the reality is that we had to repack and unpack and pack again, like how many times? Because
several.
The deal is that when we were supposed to leave in November, you're gonna have a different wardrobe than you will in March, because you're preparing for the next 60 days of having no clothes. So, you know, we went from November in the dead of winter to March in the springtime where you need both, to July when you only need summer and maybe a little bit of fall depending on when your household goods gets here. So utilize your unaccompanied baggage for all of your clothes that you think you might need, because it will be here within a month, and you have washers and dryers. So just do yourself a favor, pack a week, maybe 2 weeks worth of clothes, a jacket, 2 different pairs of shoes, and call it good, because you do not need all of that stuff. I mean, if you have a baby, okay, fine. But 11 bags, it's not necessary.
No.
So.
Had I known, I would have just 2 bags each. Is what I would have done.
Because you're not going anywhere anyway. You're quarantined for half of the time that it takes for your unaccompanied baggage to get here.
So actually, I take that back. It would be 2 bags for each person, and then we had 1 bag specifically for our pets. So we had some food, we had their toys, we had leashes, and then we had we brought some like cleaning wipes, because we're expecting an accident in the crates.
Yeah, that's another thing with the pets. Line the crates with the puppy pads. You know, to begin with, I think I started with just talking to people that I worked with, because I worked in a GS position, actually at Madigan Army Medical Center. And so a lot of my peers and a lot of my coworkers had been to Germany or had PCSed. And so they were really helpful at, oh yeah, this would be a great opportunity, and kind of facilitated us even applying, really. And then after that, I went to a couple of the DoD sites, but some of them were really dated, and so I wasn't sure if that was up to date or what. So then I went to Facebook, and then after that I went to YouTube. Watching videos of people that actually lived here and went through the process, I found most important, because they provided the information that specific questions I wanted to know.
So once we landed in Frankfurt, our sponsor picked us up, and there's actually 2 vehicles that picked us up. We had so many luggage. And then we drove straight to the Army Lodge on Graf. And then once we got there, they checked us in. We couldn't even go in the building. So we had to actually go around the side, and they let us in and gave us our keys there. And then straight into quarantine. And then we walked into our hotel and then locked down for 2 weeks.
So did you have to do quarantine before you got to Germany?
No.
You did not?
No.
Okay. So you only had to do it for 14 days once you actually arrived?
Yes.
Correct. But we were kind of self-quarantined anyways.
Yeah, because he had been working from home since February, and with my job, depending on where we were working that week, we would have to do a self-quarantine for 2 weeks as well. But that's specific to our situation. Anyone else, they would have just asked them to quarantine when they got here. But the quarantine experience was a little intense. I don't think that there's really anything you can tell anybody that's going to prepare them fully for that experience, because you're not leaving your room. And the only reason why we were able to leave our room is because we had a dog. And other people that were in the quarantine with us, we were actually kind of jokingly saying, oh, we'll rent our dog to you so you can leave your room, because you can't be outside your room. And if you do, you have booties you have to put on your shoes, you have gloves you have to wear, you have a mask you have to wear, you have like all of this. It's like a 15-minute preparation to get outside.
We had to take wipes, and every time we touched the door handle, we had to clean it. Anything we touched, we had to clean.
Where are you getting that guidance from? To do was your sponsor telling you that? Or?
Yeah. So we
the hotel.
Yeah. Once we got there, the hotel had a welcome packet, but it had all the COVID quarantine guidelines or rules that we had to follow.
Okay, and that was for 14 days.
14 days.
The one thing they didn't tell us until like day 6 or 7, which would have been helpful, is that we were able to use the laundry facilities, but during certain times. You can only use them between 8 and 12. So everybody on one floor is trying to use 2 washers and 2 dryers only for 4 hours at a time, and then they don't tell you that they're German, so. Yeah.
Smaller.
Well, and they take forever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So all the trainings that you're required to do, your driver's license for anybody in their family that needs it. Anything that you have to do back home still.
Amazon accounts.
Final, phone bill payments or something like that. Knock that out there, just to be on the safe side. Because some of the I can't access my old AT&T account. It will not open.
You can't open. I think it's Credit Karma or one of those. If you have a subscription to something that's specifically American, either get rid of it or change it or cancel it or whatever before you leave. Like, go try it out on your German cell phone away from your Wi-Fi and see if you can open the app. And if you can, great. And if you can't, go back to your Wi-Fi that's American and get rid of it, because now you're paying for something monthly that you can no longer cancel.
Yeah, so the gym membership. So
well, COVID
so we
closed
canceled
the gyms.
it, but because of the COVID, we couldn't go in and physically cancel it that way. So we had just called, but then now they're requiring us to send a certified letter. So we're getting charged for a gym that we can't even go to because it's back in the States.
Yeah, and it was closed at the time that we left, so there was no going in to cancel it. And then, like I was saying, Amazon, I didn't realize is different here also. So, if you want to have an Amazon account, they're going to ask you to verify with your old phone number. Most people don't have an American number here because no one wants to pay overseas charges on their phone. So our phones have been put on hold, and then the number no longer works. So when you go on to Amazon, they want to send you a text message that you can't get. So you can't authorize any shipments or do anything like that. So I know a lot of people, rely on that for goods and things, like me. I can't drive to the store. I mean, I can't go anywhere. I can go to the grocery store, but there's no Target, or if you needed something for your house, I have to rely, hey, after work, do you want to go to the PX? Nobody wants to do that. And grab an extension cord or whatever you need. So, Amazon's been kind of like our lifeline to getting a shower curtain or whatever.
Now here on Graph, there's a couple restaurants that would deliver directly to our room. Mm-hmm. So like Cheers was one of them, and then the Italian place.
Oh, the Italian
that if you
place was good,
order
yeah.
over 40 euros, they give you a free bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
we have 2 bottles of their wine.
We didn't know, and I opened the door and they hand me wine. I'm like, okay.
We thought it was a welcome gift at first. Then I look on the website and I'm like, oh no, it's because we bought them. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually makes sense. That's good helpful information too, to find food right away that delivers actually to Army Lodging.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and takes card, because you are not able to go outside to get an ATM to get euros.
Yeah.
So if you don't have euros and they don't take ATM or debit card or credit card or whatever, then you're not getting a delivery. So remember I told you that we really like coffee? Coffee's a thing in our house. So we kept calling the front desk, asking them for the little coffee pods, because we went through a lot of coffee. And they were only giving us like 6 at a time. And I'm like, this is funny. We're going to go through a lot of these. So after calling a couple of days, they just start bringing us a whole box at a time. So in the morning, because the lodging provides breakfast. So that was the one hot meal that we got during the day before we had our groceries. So with breakfast, we got a box of coffee pods. And so they were more than helpful with supplying us with enough caffeine to make it through our transition from the state time to European time. But so definitely things like coffee and sugar and creamer, and you're not getting that. So they'll bring you coffee, but that's it. The Wi-Fi is different at the lodging, and I don't know how many people know this, but we didn't figure this out until we actually went to the cabins. So he had done his driver's license test online at the lodging, which is great because you can get that done while you're in quarantine, and then you just go to the licensing office once you get out of quarantine and you have a driver's license. But I didn't do that And so I thought, well, whatever, I'm gonna be in a house soon, we're gonna be at the lodging, I'm gonna have plenty of time to do this online. Yeah, no. So at the lodging, they have American Wi-Fi. Everywhere else has German Wi-Fi. You're not getting on the same websites that you normally would be able to get on for the military unless you're on an American internet.
Yeah, so once we got into the cabin, we couldn't log in to get her to do the.
You have to have a
driver's
VPN.
test. Yeah, and initially when we first landed, the plan was that we do the quarantine in the hotel, and then we were supposed to move to a different hotel room that was not quarantined. But I guess they were expecting a large influx of people, so they decided that the hotel was going to be 100% quarantined. So then we had to find other lodging, and our sponsor was able to get us into the wild boar cabins.
From Army Lodging, you went to the cabin.
Yeah. Once we had no symptoms and all of that, if you were somebody that ended up being sick, then you would have to stay and be tested. We weren't tested either, so it was just quarantine.
What about when you came into Frankfurt?
So that's
no.
Yeah, so we were told we were going to get tested at Frankfurt, but nobody ever tested us.
There was no testing sites or anything.
We just got off the plane, walked straight down to immigration.
Yeah.
What I've been hearing from soldiers, they get tested.
Yeah.
But as a civilian, I guess, I don't know why they didn't test us at all.
And now, though, I've heard that Germany has implemented testing at the airport, though. That's become a thing now. It wasn't the case in July when we got here. We arrived July 7th?
Yeah, no, we landed July 8th.
July 8th. But since between now and then, they've started testing at the airport.
So you're at Wild Boar, and this is just preliminary before you start house hunting, right?
Yes.
Now, I've heard that sponsors are looking for people's houses before they get here. Did you guys
We didn't experience
that?
No, that was actually one of the people we were in quarantine with did, though.
Yeah.
And that was somebody, I think it's specific to active duty, because they went to the military housing, they took pictures, and then they forwarded the pictures while they were still in the States. And then they had to choose, they had so many days to choose a house. And then when they arrived, they did their 2 weeks and then went straight to their house.
Okay.
So, but that wasn't our experience.
All right.
Because we live off post. So.
Yeah, so tell me about your experience then from Wild Boar to where we are now.
Wild Boar was all right. I mean, it's a good little vacation spot, but not to live for. How long were we there? 3 weeks?
Yeah. It was a beautiful place, though. I mean, they had a lot of things to do. There was kayaking and paddleboarding, and they have a rock climbing wall, and they have a ropes course, and most of it was closed when we arrived, and then they had different days that they had started opening up. But it's great if you want to go for a weekend, but living there with 3 animals, 2 kids, and the kitchen is and then, of course, it's a training facility, so you have to expect a lot of noise, but we weren't really prepared for the amount of noise, and it started at 2 in the morning and went until 6 in the morning, so he's trying to get up to go to work the next day.
So the virtual in-processing was actually pretty good. I kind of liked it. The only thing I don't like about it is you can't ask questions. So then it's either email and try to get a response that way, but I kind of prefer the in-person in-processing. Just because when you have a question, you ask it, you get an answer right there. But other than that, I thought it was pretty good. But 3 of the 4 virtual in-processings, they had the audio. So that was even nice because they kind of gave you more information than just reading the slide. So I kind of like that audio attached to the slide deck because you got just a little bit more info. And so some of the questions that I would have asked in the audio, they actually answered those.
Okay. How long did it take you for the virtual process?
A day. Yeah, not even a full day. We literally just kind of opened up a slide, went through the slide deck, write down any questions I had to ask, and then if
I think that's actually easier than a whole day of in-processing because then you have everybody else's questions at the same time, and you may already know those things, and and it's a quicker process, I think, to just go through the slides, write down your questions, email them, and get an answer back hopefully in a decent amount of time. But yeah, then it's not an all-day thing. But it is nice to have a face to put with a program so that you know who's ACS or something that you might use in the future. It's not just for in-processing.
And the in-processing as a civilian is totally different from the in-processing as a soldier. There's some aspects that's a lot easier as a civilian, but I think it took me longer to get through the in-processing because the soldiers have it set it up where they're pretty much in process and completely done in 4 days because everything is brought to them essentially. Where me, I had to find where building 500 was or go find building 244, and, so it was a little bit more of a task, but at the same time, I think I learned the facility a little bit better because I didn't even have a rental car at the time, so I walked all over Graph.
Well, our sponsor did take us to a few.
And yeah, part of the in-processing is going to housing. So they kind of tell you, go on homes.mil, which we had been looking at well in advance. But honestly, we ended up going with a realtor, and that was far more beneficial than just looking at homes.mil. And what's the other one,
Buku, yeah. We spent some time on there. And we did not have a realtor fee because the people that are renting out the houses are the ones hiring the realtors. So they're already getting commission from them. Yeah.
How many houses did you look at? 20?
At least.
Yeah.
Probably. And we just kind of wanted to see, if you're in a new country and you have no idea where you are, you have no idea what each place, has to offer you and what your needs are, it's really hard to choose. So being in quarantine and then being at the wild boar with no car, that's another thing. You don't have any transportation either. So, having the chance to get out and see some of these places before you make a choice of where you're going to be living for the next few years isn't a possibility without a car. So we kind of just went with the realtor and tried to see as much as we could and make a decision on where we wanted to live with each house that we saw. We kind of already decided, I think, that we wanted to live in or near Weiden just based on videos that we had seen and what was told to us that they had here. But we saw at least 6 different towns and at least 20 properties, I want to say. Well, I guess I should back up and say we were supposed to be here 3 different times. So each time that we had a new airline ticket, we had a new airline to deal with. So because our first tickets were nonstop. So we had one airline, which was super easy, but then by the time we actually got here, that last flight had 2 airlines involved, and really 3, because you have an airline that's being run by a different airline. And so what happens is that Alaska, might require something specific for the animals that United doesn't, or that Lufthansa is like, nope, not on our plane. And so you kind of have to call all 3 to make sure that whatever the crate size is that you have is the best, or if, they need specific things. Our cat, she rode in cabin with us, but therein lies a different problem because the dimensions of the crate for her was good on one airline, but then it was too big on another, and so we kind of just squeezed her into the seat and called it good. But the best thing for the animals as far as the crates are concerned, because I've seen that question asked a lot, is just go to the PX. Go to the PX, get your Sky Kennel, put your dog in it. When you go home, make sure that they can turn around and lay down without their paws touching the wire in the front, and you should be good.
What about, did you have to put live animal?
Yeah, and the airport was really good with that. They actually put all the stickers on there for us.
Which airport?
SeaTac. Yeah, SeaTac did that.
Okay.
So they put on the live animal stickers. They had a pet program that they did. So it told who the dog was, when the last time they ate was, when the last time they went to the bathroom or were let out. They told us that they did feed them and offer them water in between flights, which was nice. We had a 6-hour layover in LAX so we could take them out. And we got creative with the cat. We had a leash and a halter for her so she could get out as well.
I think making sure that they're all chipped, and it's got to be the international chip.
So they have to go to the vet 10 days prior to flying. And with COVID, that was kind of a challenge because we couldn't actually go in with them. So we had to take them to McCord and wait outside. And then the vet actually would come out and pick up one animal at a time and take them in and do whatever they needed to do and then bring them out. And they were very helpful in helping us figure out paperwork and whatnot, because when you get to the airport, each time you check in to go on to the next flight, they do want to see that paperwork. So get your binder ready and put your paperwork in it with each animal's paperwork together and just staple it all together because they want to see all of them at the same time. You have to have the rabies shot. You have to have the microchip. He was a pound puppy and had come from Tacoma Pound. So he was already microchipped, but it wasn't the one that they wanted. It wasn't the 15 number one, it was the 9 number one. So it wasn't an international chip.
Yeah.
So he actually had to be microchipped again. And then he had already gotten his rabies shot because we had done that before and with our own vet. But because he had to be microchipped a second time at the Air Force Base, they also had to give him another rabies shot because they have to be done on the same day. So just because they have their shots and they're up to date doesn't mean that they won't get another one.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I went to get my passport, turned in your birth certificate and all that stuff, they didn't accept my birth certificate. It didn't have the state seal on it.
Yeah.
And then they didn't like the fact that, next to my birth date, it had a -I. So I had to order a new one, and we're in Washington State, and I was born in Texas, so we had to call and order one, and that took 4 months to get. And that's paying the expedited fee, which I got back.
October to February.
Yeah. So we were supposed to come originally in November, but because of birth certificate snafu, and really, ultimately it was a passport snafu. We didn't get the passport, like she said, until February, and then the new date was March, and that's of course when COVID.
We
got the SOFA status. We got the SOFA stamp.
Yeah, that's.
Stamp.
Yeah. And that was no problem, except, I felt bad for the guy because he's in his office by himself right now. So most offices for our in-processing were either really low staff because they had taken a lot of people out and had them work from home. So for example, the SOFA passport, he was by himself. So if you wanted to get your SOFA that day, you would need to go in early and put your name on the list and make sure that you're there. Yeah, there is a long line for everything because, like I said, they're low manned, and either that or they're working from home altogether. So just know that if you're gonna apply for a passport, do that before you apply for a job, because you may need a passport anyway. And then once you've applied for the job, you'll already have everything that you need, and you can always get the SOFA when you get here. Don't get the SOFA and then come here and try to get a travel passport, because you won't be able to go anywhere. And we didn't realize that either, because we thought, okay, we can go to Fort Lewis, we can get our SOFA, everybody can travel over there, and then we'll get his stuff squared away. But that's not how that works. So
yeah, having a sponsor is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would request one if they're not already having one that's signed for you, and my whole office essentially kind of became our sponsor. Originally, one of my sponsors, she ended up going on leave when we finally did get here. So then they gave me a new one, but the whole office is really good as far as helping. So the first week we didn't have a rental car, so they would pick me up at the Wild Boar and take me into work. And
not only that, but before we even got here, they were emailing asking if they could get a grocery list so that they could get groceries together for us for our hotel room, because we couldn't leave. So yeah, and before I knew that they were going to be doing that, I was thinking, we can't leave. How are we going to eat? Like, there's no food, right? I got 2 kids and dogs and whatever, so everybody needs something. And so I actually researched which stores will ship to an APO. And so I ended up going on to Walmart.com and sent over a bunch of food that I knew that I could make dinners with in a hotel room type kitchen.
Oh yeah, they don't have any ovens.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's no oven.
Don't get any.
No, we didn't know that. So our sponsor got us 2 frozen pizzas that actually followed us from the hotel to the cabin to our house that we ate the first night we were here. So. But anyway, so yeah, Walmart was actually able to deliver like canned goods and foods that we could use.
And macaroni and cheese, spaghetti, and
Yeah, but didn't know this part. You actually can't have your sponsor pick up your mail for you.
yes,
And so we couldn't get our Walmart box until we got to the cabins and we could pick it up ourselves.
yes.
So yeah, so they were definitely somebody that you are going to need when you get here, because they will do everything for you on the outside that you can't do while you're in quarantine.
So be flexible. Be
No-
patient.
No things are going to change.
No things are going to change.
Don't forget anything at the airport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't forget anything at the airport.
And
Yeah, so
try
make
to-
sure your GTC is activated, which that was another snafu we had at the airport. So my GTC that they told me it was activated when I got to the airport, it was not activated. So we had to
Because they had
scramble to get it.
activated it several times before, and so it had run out.
Yeah.
And then make sure that you're only bringing your necessities. You don't need 12 bags, even though you think you do. You really don't. Yeah, bring what you can with unaccompanied baggage. Our experience actually was the first person we talked to for unaccompanied was like, "Oh no, you can't take this, you can't take that." And when the guys actually came, they were like, "Whatever, just it's fine. It meets the weight limit. We can fit it in the crate. Just whatever you need, just put it in the crate." So we kind of didn't know that until we had unaccompanied baggage, our household goods, and our storage come the same day.
Which was a nightmare.
Yeah, you have 3 different companies working within your house, and you're trying to keep certain things in one room, certain things in another room.
And stay out of their way.
Yeah, and so
You lose things.
that's for prep. I would say make sure that you have 2 different areas that are specifically for unaccompanied baggage and storage, because that stuff will get mixed up. And make sure and check your rooms that they've taken everything, because they almost didn't pack a whole bathroom before they left. Get your trash, put it away. They will pack trash, and get yourself a binder. I know there's a million different things out there on how to do a PCS binder. That is a must. You have to have that, because you will have so many papers and copies of orders and receipts and whatever. You have to get a get a little flexible accordion type thing for receipts, because when you go to turn in your card, you have to show what you've spent. And so that was super important, because you have the receipts from before. You get 10 days before you leave that's covered. You get your travel time that's covered. And then you get the time that you're in temporary housing that's covered. So you have a lot of things to keep track of. And those things make it easier. That made my life easier anyway. Sports physical's done before you leave. You don't want to try to figure that out here.
Yeah.
Any kind of medication that you might need.
Because once you get here, you're not going to have time to even start to look to find who takes your insurance and then where to go and all that stuff.
And take it little chunks at a time. Don't try to do or think about everything at once, because it seems really overwhelming. So there's a million different websites where you can print off PCS checklists of things to do 6 months out, 3 months out, a month out, a week out. And that was helpful as well. You also have to have record of everything that you've sent. So if you want to make sure that your TV makes it, take a photo of the serial number, write it down.
So organization sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
The more organized, the better off you'll be. Yeah. And then just be flexible, because everything changes. Like even when we found out we were coming in July, I mean, we got 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks notice that we're actually coming.
Oh, and then the car.
And then shipping the car.
Yeah.
So during the COVID, the process to get the car here has taken a lot longer.
That's our permit.
Well, you either
No,
feast
it's
or
not here yet.
famine, and that's with everything. So you either have everything that you need before you leave, and then you do without it here, or you ship it early there and you have it here earlier. And so, in my opinion, I think a rental car is cheaper in the United States. So I would suggest sending the car and then renting when you need it, And then when you get here, you'll have it, because we are $1,500 into a rental car right now. And our car isn't supposed to be here until the 28th of September. And we're not even at September 1 yet. So, yeah, that's a cost that you have to incur and that's not covered. So just know that you're gonna have to save at least $2,000, if not more, to get you through rental car time and whatnot if you don't send the car early. Another thing is your bed situation. If, like us, we were getting ready to sell a house, so we want to take as much time as we could to clean up and prep and whatever. And so we chose to stay in the house as opposed to go to a hotel, which you could have gone to a hotel 10 days prior. Hotel is not fun with 3 animals. So we decided to stay at the house. Get yourself an air mattress, because once they come to pick up your stuff, and if you've already sent your car, you have no way to get to wherever to get an air mattress, and you're sleeping on the floor.
How do you like it?
I love it. Just
Yeah.
try to get out as much as you can.
Yeah. And look for things, because you know things aren't going to come to you. So you have to make the effort to go on a website or go on Facebook and a travel page and see where everybody is going. Look in your area closest to you. Like we happened to look last weekend, and there's a concentration camp 10,
20
15 minutes from here.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that we went to go visit. There's castle ruins. We didn't even know. We've been living here for almost 2 weeks. No clue. But we definitely went and did that last weekend, and we had a blast and learned a lot, saw a lot.
And with the language barrier, as long as you're trying, they're gonna be pretty forgiving and really work with you.
Yeah, don't assume everybody speaks English, and you know, do your best to do your part to learn about the culture that you're coming to.
Yeah.
So,
And the language, yeah.
yeah. And I forgot, you want to bring something for your COVID 14-day quarantine, because you will be very bored. We counted sugar and creamer and organized coffee, because that's all we had to do. Bring a book, bring a board game, bring your crochet, bring a paint by number, bring something for 14 days to keep yourself entertained, because if you don't, you're going to be sorry. Trust me.